Welcome to the Next Pivot Point podcast. This season, I'm focused on sharing stories and ideas from experts on diversity and inclusion. In this episode, I will share some insights and ideas from my guest expert, Helen Aboah. Together, we will leave you with some actionable tips to think about and discuss with your organization. We share this information because inclusive leadership is a journey. It requires bravery and courage. You don't have to do it alone. At Next Pivot Point, I believe we are stronger together. We are one. So we're going to meet this week's expert. Helen Aboah comes to us, and she is currently the CEO of Urban Zen, a design and vision philosophy created by Donna Karan that defines the space where creativity, culture, and collaboration converge with retail, technology, wellness, healthcare, and social impact. She is no stranger to change. Born in Intria, Africa, and raised in Sonoma County, California, she moved to New York City to study at Columbia University in New York City. She first achieved success in television and film, where she learned the importance of storytelling before pivoting to the retail industry, where she mastered the art of combining product and design narratives with technology to create innovative digital experiences. Now, as CEO of Urban Zen, she combines her past and present experience to seamlessly integrate and connect industries, retail, healthcare, philanthropic organizations, and she leads multiple disciplines from design, digital, web marketing, content marketing, sales, and product. She's innovative and an analytical leader with experience driving growth and expanding businesses. And she's really dedicated her team with a thoughtful and clear strategy, serving the customer and its deft execution. Well, welcome, Helen. I'm so excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Wow. Well, what a story you have. And I'd love to start there for our listeners. Walk us through kind of your personal journey and how you got to be where you're at. I'd love to hear about your story.
So a little bit about how you started. We're immigrants from Eritrea. I arrived when I was about 3 years old. I have an older sister, younger brother. So yes, we came when we were 3 years old. We were raised in a family in which education was highly valued, since both our parents had a middle school level education. They believed in the American dream, that if you were highly educated and worked hard, you could be successful. And we were raised in this insulated environment of an Eritrean community. Again, education, big influence. And, I had a sister who ended up going to Stanford University, so the pressure was on, right? And to go to an Ivy League, as you're always reminded that your parents just left or had left a war-torn country to give you opportunity in an amazing country for a new life. So that's a bit about how my early beginnings. And, so then I was raised under the pressures of following this incredible older sister. I rebelled to the extent that I could. I chose to go East Coast versus stay in the West Coast. And, again, focused on education, had incredible opportunities that were presented to me. I'm happy to be speaking to you, Julie, specifically because, you talk about allyship and having a great opportunity to meet incredible people who along the way, made an effort to support my career, to support my advancement and help me along the way. And my first role was in television, and then I went along to film. And then after that, I'm going to fast forward just because we can be here all day with my story. But I landed in fashion. So, and here I am working in what is a retail business mixed with a bit of healthcare, wellness, and of course, philanthropy.
Yeah. What a great background, and the humble beginnings of being an immigrant, younger, new to the world, and knowing the hardships that your parents faced to bring you here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that journey is just so powerful. And then recognizing too your allies along the way that have supported you and helped you get to where you're at. We rarely achieve success, especially I think as women, especially as folks that are underrepresented, without the help and support of others around us to help pull us up with them. So who have been some of your allies along the way? Who have been those people that were supportive, and how did they support you in your career and your endeavors?
You know, I chose to accept help from people who didn't look like me so that I could be successful, a successful professional woman. And some of those were Asian female bosses, white men, white women. I obviously had Black employees who encouraged me along the way, but they made room at the table. They allowed opportunities for me to be included in meetings I otherwise wouldn't be included in. I would even dare to say that a couple, one specifically, who was the president of an organization, told me, I mean, she was an incredible, she still is an incredible mentor. And she identified my talent, my skill, right? I love that she said, Helen, you could run circles around my management team, but she also understood the challenges I would face as a Black woman. I myself, not even I haven't identified that yet, because I was still learning and growing and just thinking, how can I absorb more information? How can I, what do I need to get to that next step? Not realizing that allyship was so important. In some cases, it came natural and these opportunities and doors were open to me, and you take those for granted. And then other times, in the case of this one mentor, I witnessed her having to take action herself in order to open certain doors for me and allow me to be promoted into roles that I was not just qualified for, but I exceeded the qualifications for. And it was an incredible experience. And it's something that once my eyes were open to it, I realized, oh, how much more important this is and how important it is for me to be that ally to others. And then also encourage and show my appreciation to my allies, because, some were conscious of it. They understood that they had to be allies and they knew what they were doing, I would say. And then others weren't always aware because they just assumed, hey, Helen's extremely qualified, great at what she does. There's no reason why she wouldn't be, right for this role or right to take on that project.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and there were women and men, though, I would say.
Yeah, a variety of people, a variety of ethnicities, like you said, a variety of genders. It takes all of us together. And I
Yeah.
love specifically in your story, Helen, I often hear that they saw something in us maybe we didn't yet see in ourselves. They knew the barriers that we might face just because of our skin color, because of our gender identity,
Mm-hmm.
that we didn't yet even know would adversely affect
Yeah.
us. And a lot
Yeah.
of times, like you said, you have to run circles around others in more privileged, natural privilege positions because of those factors. I find underrepresented folks often have to prove themselves over and over again to show that they're worthy, and often are overqualified for positions where the biased
Mm-hmm.
thinking is that somehow they're underqualified because we don't see people like that at the top of organizations. And so
Right.
it's frustrating, but allies can speed that up a little bit. They can help remove some of those barriers with their power, with their privilege. And then now you get to be in your position an ally for others and help lift others up. So
Exactly.
take us to what you're doing now at Urban Zen and leading that organization. Obviously, this year has been a wild roller coaster ride,
Right.
retail especially, right? Um,
Yeah.
Tell us, like, how has this affected? What have you seen as far as your workforce and maybe just kind of the broader workforce, the impacts that we're seeing with the what I'm calling the future of work? Where are we at now? If you think kind of midway through 2020, and maybe if you had a crystal ball, how do you see the workforce changing as a result of what we're experiencing?
I would definitely say that companies are realizing that employees' well-being, the well-being of your employees, is so much more important than we ever estimated or ever probably invested. We're fortunate at Urban Zen that we have the Urban Zen Integrated Therapy Program, which is a healthcare wellness company under our umbrella. It's part of our internal company culture to take care of our employees, whether they're experiencing, whether it's exhaustion, sadness, anxiety, anything they're facing in the midst of all that we're going through right now. So I definitely see companies doing more in that area moving forward. And then you see a blend of this flexible hours and days. Again, it's industry specific, right? In the world of retail, yes, currently we're forced due to COVID-19 to be 100% digitally focused. Therefore, everything's done over the phone using some form of technology. But moving forward, that's not going to be sustainable in the sense that, and also I'm a firm believer in human interaction. But from the employee perspective, we still design clothes, and we're looking at luxury apparel. There are intricate designs and fit and conversations and collaborations that happen in person. So what that looks like in the future, in addition to CDC guidelines, is going to require us to be a lot more creative. That same creativity that's required to design and create for our retail business is going to have to be transferred into how we work in the future. We as a company are still looking at that. Again, we're fortunate. We have a huge, very large workspace. So we're able to do that with, following the CDC guidelines. But in the future, I do see there being this blend of work hours, days, staggered days for individuals within teams, this focusing and putting a lot more focus on people's personal lives, right? So in order to not roll back what has been accomplished for women specifically, because unfortunately due to COVID, we're seeing that women are being disproportionately affected. And in order to, put a stop to that or stem that, there are things that companies can do. And we see by embracing technology that should slow that down. And also just being simply considerate of your employees. Let's just talk specifically about, moms, if you want to. We have great talent, for example, and, some are mothers, and they're saying, look, if it looks like the old days, then that's not going to work. And that's not just for our organization, it's for many organizations. So we are challenged with, okay, do we lose the best of the best, or do we adapt? And by adapting, it's not costing us anything, which is what we're realizing currently. We're seeing that technology is a tool that we should embrace if we want to create a more profitable, equitable, diverse workplace. We've discovered, and I believe this moving forward, that it is possible to resolve the seeming paradox of finding ways to remain distinctly human in a technology-driven world.
Yeah.
So it'll be great.
Yeah, women
Yeah.
especially. So some of the numbers that have come in kind of a few months in, oh gosh, we're approaching 5 months into COVID now. Women,
Yeah.
especially here in the United States, reporting the overwhelm factor with childcare and
Mm-hmm.
balancing the ever work-life impossible balance of their workload. And you're right.
Right.
This isn't new though. This isn't, having worked in women's leadership and you too. I mean, these are things women have been talking about for years, the impossible
Yeah.
task of balancing my work and life, the caregiving challenges. We know that, women are the primary caregiver in 70% of households. Like that is just the
Yeah.
reality today, still in the United States, and men are not participating at the same rate of which women are in child
Right.
caretaking. And when you have your children at home, that's a big deal. Um, and then women are reporting
Absolutely.
the overwhelm factor. I saw a report 31% are overwhelmed with the work and life integration, where men just were much lower in numbers in that report, single digits. So it's not the same how we're experiencing this from a gender perspective. And I love what you said about bringing your full self to work, really valuing people and their personal lives. And flexibility doesn't actually cost us much, especially if we embrace technology, which, by the way, this technology's been around for quite some time. So
Yes.
maybe we
Yeah.
needed this push to come out of this stronger, to really recalibrate on what's important in our full human being. And like you said, I have organizations a lot that approach me and say, we just can't retain women, or, women are leaving because they can't, they want to be more active as mothers. There's all these kind of like blanket excuse statements. And my response is much the same
Hmm.
as yours. Are you okay with losing that high caliber talent? Are you okay with that?
Right.
Because keep doing the same thing and you're bound to get that same result. If you're willing to
Absolutely.
change and experiment with some things, and I'm not saying do things unfairly for women, but men actually
Yeah.
benefit a lot from these policies, and they're loving the
Yeah.
flexibility too. I think all humans do. So it's not
Right.
that we have to do things differently to tailor the experiences to women. It's oftentimes what benefits the underrepresented group often behooves the
Hmm.
majority group as well. And I think we're
Hmm.
starting to see that. So tell us at Urban Zen, how are you doing that? Like tangibly, how are you working on workplace flexibility? How are you helping, people live their full lives during all of this? What do you see other organizations maybe doing more of in the future to help be more flexible and really appeal to the whole human in the workplace?
For us specifically, I believe it starts with communication, right? We're learning about employees' personal lives, what they love, what they're involved in outside of work, much more now than we did in the past. Because you can have a Zoom call and then hear a baby in the background, right? Or and then wonder like, how are you doing it? What is it that you need? Look, as a mom, I have twins who just turned 1 and I have a 5-year-old. So at home it's my husband and I,
Oh, wow.
and so we're it's yes, and it's incredible. I mean, I always hoped and wished for more time with my kids. Obviously I thought of it looking differently, but yes, we are. But if it wasn't for someone saying and asking me, because as a leader sometimes but for someone asking me, hey, and our partner and our founder asking, Helen, how's it going? What is it that you need to be successful in your role in this current landscape? And I myself asking that to my team. So I think communication is key, right? Finding out what employees need, not making the assumption that if I do X, Y, and Z, that this should make it easier or better for them. Embracing technology is very important. I say that things that we said no to in the past, I've asked the team, let's talk about it now. When we talked about flexible hours in the past, pre-COVID, and we thought it wouldn't work back then, let's put that back on the plate and discuss what that looks like now. And hearing what your employees are saying, and at the end of the day, you hire really great individuals to do their jobs. They know, and you have to trust as a leader. They know what they know their deliverables, right? They have their KPIs. So if they say this is what it looks like for me, I can come in 2 days a week and do this, then that works. I work 3 days a week from home. So it's going to be much more collaborative for us. For example, I've gone into the office 2 times in the past week. For another employee, it may be that they want to come in 5 times following CDC guidelines. I should have prefaced that first, right? That we're keeping the environment safe, doing all that we can as an organization to make sure the environment is a healthy place for them to be, but also trusting that after having that dialogue that they'll accomplish what they need to accomplish based on what they feel their working environment should look like in this current state and moving forward. If we're more productive and and our revenue is going up, I would be hard pressed to tell someone to revert back to what I find comfortable for myself, right? Just so that I'm comfortable. Doesn't make any sense. If people do well, then let them do well in the environment that they feel suited to do it.
Yeah.
And again, it's industry specific and that's department specific, right?
Yep. Yeah, but a trust, communication, leveraging
Mm-hmm.
technology, these are things all industries can do. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of times as leaders, we think, well, we can't do that, right? We've never done it that way. And that's
Yeah.
COVID's really thrown all that
Yeah.
out the window because we've found ways
We're
to
doing it.
we're doing it. We're doing it even though we thought we couldn't. Virtual work. I've been working virtually for the last 6 years and I love it. And a lot of organizations, when I've approached them about that as an idea before, to get more diverse talent. Like, no, we have to see each other. I need to know they're in the office, know they're working. We're seeing that's really a fallacy. Like, you don't need to see somebody to know they're working. You need to trust that they know how to do their job. And one thing you said there, Helen, that I think is really tangible for today's leader listening is asking your employees, what do you need to be successful right now? What do you
Mm-hmm.
need from the organization, from me, from your team? Tell me one thing. And I have found
Yeah.
you ask that question and you hang back, and this is the beauty of the virtual world. You're probably on the phone or a Zoom call, just zip it, for a few seconds,
Right.
let the person actually think and expect an answer. They'll tell you something pretty meaningful. And that's how you
Right.
build trust by, just like your allies did, helping you remove barriers, helping somebody be successful. And it's often not money that they ask for. They're not going to ask to work
Right.
part-time. I think in our minds, we're like, oh gosh, they're going to ask for the world. It's usually very simple requests that they make, and ones that they're
Right.
almost embarrassed to ask for help on before. So if you can build trust through that kind of gratitude and finding a way to give to others, it really behooves your whole organization. Those are the organizations that I'm seeing really navigate these waters really seamlessly right now. Others are struggling. If you don't have that open communication and trust, it's hard to build in a virtual world. You needed to build that before. Not that you can't do that, but it's a little tougher now. Um,
Yeah.
Helen, I'm
And
curious. Yeah, please.
sorry, I was going to say, and for companies specifically now, if they have this or they don't, but people are motivated at the highest level when they can connect their work to their contributions, right, to this greater purpose. For us, we're mission driven as well. So whether it's education that we're giving back to, education causes that support the resettlement of refugees, or artisans, however it may look, but whether you're manufacturing toilet paper or designing a garment, I'm seeing that employees want to understand how their roles are contributing to this larger purpose, right?
Yeah.
And that's so important moving forward, that companies have that at the forefront. Is because people are going to be they're more driven now, especially when you're at home, to know that, look, I'm putting in these hours and in this environment, and yes, I'm contributing to a bottom line, of course. But moving forward in the future of work is that an employee wants to know that they're not just contributing to, or their task is not just contributing to a bottom dollar, but to a greater good, and what that greater good is.
Yeah, and helping them understand that, right? No matter what
Yes,
business you're in, how you're helping others, how you're helping make the world a better
yes,
place. And everyone has an opportunity to facilitate that. And I think that if that's an exercise you haven't done as a team, or people are unclear on that, really helping
hmm,
people connect their individual job to that
right,
overall greater purpose. I know I find a lot of joy in being able to share with my daughter about the work I
yeah,
do and why it's so important. So when I go to a meeting or get on a conference call, she knows that it's important, and it helps make me better too by honoring this work has purpose. I'm not choosing
yeah,
this over her, which I think a lot of moms beat themselves up about.
right.
You gotta give to you too to be strong for others. And if your work's connected to purpose, it makes that journey so much easier, so much richer. I wanted to
Absolutely.
ask you, Helen, kind of in wrapping up today, thinking about diversity and inclusion, knowing you're such an influencer in this space. Obviously, diversity, equity, inclusion have been buzzwords around corporate America, as you know, for
Hmm.
many, many years. And we're starting to see that maybe we were just talking about it, not doing a lot of it, and programs
Right.
weren't that successful, and organizations are taking a hard look at where they're going and how they diligently focus on that. How would you think, and now we're at this pivotal time with the pandemic, with Black Lives Matter, with everything going on in the world, where do you see organizations focusing to really drive diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I mean, it's what you do, which is what I'm going to say is it needs to be broadcasted. It is broadcasted now, unlike in the past, right? It's usually an initiative or a person or a department that's set by the company to either reach a quota or to just keep it in backs of mind, I think. And what we're going to see is companies are going to, it's a value that they're going to stitch into the fabric of their actual DNA. So I
Yep.
think that it's, you're going to see it in whether it's the product, the marketing, not just because, oh, I need to hit this, check that box, right? But no, it's broadcasted. Everyone's seeing it. Companies are broadcasting it. So you're going to see employees not only holding companies accountable, but you're going to see consumers doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Because they're going to want to see that a company's values aligns with theirs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't, customers are much more educated now. They have information. It's a lot more accessible to them. So now, again, whether a company's doing it because it's the right thing to do, right? I listened to one of your podcasts about the why, right? Whether their why is because it's the right thing to do or it's for profitability, whatever it is, but either way, consumers are going to see it and recognize it. And I would just go back to, it's going to be broadcasted a lot more, and there's also going to be data behind it. There are going to be people reporting it, and I think consumers are going to want to see a lot more transparency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm getting that from clients now that are squirming a little bit and like, I'm getting asked about this. And you and I were talking about this. Yeah, we might have diversity numbers on the front lines. A lot of organizations and industries can point to that. But as you go up the organization, it gets a lot more male. It gets a lot whiter. It just gets a lot less diverse, and that's not okay anymore. And that's not to say we want to push those people out. There should be more seats for everyone when we're more diverse and inclusive. So challenging those numbers at the top. I know some of my clients are getting asked for reporting numbers and they're squirming, and then it creates kind of this, scramble, I got to do something for D&I. So I hope organizations are realizing, no, it's not an initiative. No, it's not something we just talk about once a year. It's not a check the box exercise. This is really a deeper, like you said, the stitching in our fabric, right? A cultural, and it has to be embedded in that culture. And that means we talk about it regularly, consistently at the senior leadership level. We measure it. We hold ourselves accountable to it. So all these things are definitely percolating before just kind of raining down now. So I know it's music to our ears, but I think for corporate leaders, it's feeling like a lot of pressure in a year that's had a lot of pressure already. But the good news is that you can do these things, and it takes intentional baby steps, really, really thinking about this. And that why, like you said, that why is so important.
Right. And I love what you said earlier about, look, it's not about pushing anybody out. That's not the goal. I think that there are a lot of wonderful, intelligent people who have reached that, that executive level, and they deserve to be up there too. I think what we're saying is, and what people are saying, and I've seen, is you add a seat. It's not and I always say it's not an or, it's an and, right? You're adding to that table. And I have this and I have this person versus I want this person. Do I have to choose between this person or that person? So in some cases, there is a luxury to just add a seat, right? And there are many benefits to that, which is a show on its own. And, Julie, you've spoken about this. So adding that and just creating that, not just a pipeline, but really creating a culture and atmosphere and an opportunity for others to reach that destination, whether they're male, female, LGBTQ, whatever, black, white, whatever it is, but just making sure that that diversity is, again, part of the culture versus, an initiative that we have. And, what's embarrassing about initiatives, and I always say this, is initiative, you can have an initiative, and then when you fail at it, it's sort of, or something goes wrong, it's like, it's in your face, right? Because it was on my to-do list, or it's part of my plan, and it's not there. Rather, when it's in the culture, it's not part of your to-do. It's something you don't even have to think about, because every day you wake up and you see it, or you hear it, or you experience it, and that's what diversity and inclusion is.
Yep. Well said. It is not an initiative, and I love it's an and. It's not an or. Good stuff. Well,
yeah,
Helen, I'm so thankful for your perspective and your thought leadership in the space, and doing the great work you're doing to lead your team where they're at with all of this. So thank you for making the time today. Tell our listeners, how can they connect with you, follow you, stay in touch?
Absolutely. So you can follow me on LinkedIn at Helen Aboah, and I'm also on Instagram at Helen Aboah. Yes.
Awesome. We will link to those in the show notes. And thank you again for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you listening to this episode. Who do you know that needs to hear this message? Hit the share button, connect with me on LinkedIn. Simply search Julie Kratz, Kratz. You can find us and share this episode anywhere you get podcasts. Every review helps others find us, so please leave a review. I host this podcast because I believe we are stronger together. We are one.